Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jordan.
And we're here to talk about toys.
Yeah.
Thanks for being back on, Jordan.
Thank you for having me again. I love being here. I'd love to be here every time, but, I can't always be the guest of honor.
There's a lot of people that, everyone seems to enjoy being on, and people that are on want to come back, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
The worst thing would be if I ever had somebody on and they're like, wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's nice that we have a little small kind of family of people that keep looping back through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps things interesting. We recently were at my house for basically an estate style sale.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like you call it an estate sale and it sounds like you've died.
It does. I was actually calling it the I'm not dead yet estate sale to some people, but
it's the death of your bachelorhood.
It was the death of my bachelorhood. So anyway, that's kind of where this episode is going.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with the topic of news.
Yeah.
All right. Mattel launches He-Man and the Masters of the Universe interactive experience on Roblox. Oh. It's kind of bizarre.
You had me all the way, and then at the very last second, the word Roblox popped up, and I was just like, all interest is out the window now.
So Motu fans and Roblox players of the world of Eternia, where players can compete in player versus player battles as their favorite character from the animated Netflix series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
That makes so much more sense.
So it's the kiddie brand He-Man.
That makes
combined with Roblox.
Again, just so much more sense knowing that. I always forget already that He-Man's a thing again for younger kids. There's a
show for them and toys for them.
For the older nerds like us.
Right.
And then there's a new kiddie show for the new generation who has no idea why we're so upset that things aren't the same.
The reason that I'm excited about something like this is because this is the kind of thing you need to keep that brand alive. You gotta get young kids in.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest problem that things like G.I. Joe deal with. Mm-hmm. You gotta find a way of bringing in the next generation.
Yeah, so you gotta keep it going and keep that ball rolling to have the next gen of kids interested in continuing to buy and support the brand.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna want toys of stuff if they don't have the interaction.
Right.
They've got the show on Netflix now, which is fun. And they've got toys for that, which is fun. So now an interactive game with Roblox, which is one of the top most popular games still out there right now.
And it's probably a lot easier to put your characters into Roblox than it is to find somebody to develop a whole game just for you.
Never mind that it's a very simplistic looking game, so it's not like they have to worry about pouring over hours and hours of graphics to make sure things look right, because it's going to look stylized anyway. Which is fun.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping it does well for the brand. And we've seen similar things to this. We've seen Batman in Fortnite. We've seen Snake Eyes in Fortnite.
We've seen pretty much everybody in Fortnite.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fortnite is a force to be reckoned with guest stars.
It's cool that this is I don't know how many characters, but it's a whole...
It's like a world.
It's a world. It's not just, here we're throwing one guy in for you. So I do like that aspect of it.
I think that's fun. I think that'll be really cool to let Roblox players get into Eternia and do all sorts of fun missions, I guess. I've never played Roblox personally.
Okay.
I know I've seen the toys. I've got several of them because I actually don't know where they came from. I have a bad habit where I just sort of end up with stuff. But I really liked, there's a duck boat.
Okay.
And I ended up with the duck boat and then a bunch of figures that came with the duck boat. That I definitely don't remember buying, but I have it. And it sure is there.
Interesting. All right, so after news, we usually do new to the collection.
Yes.
You actually brought something that came from the estate sale at my house.
Yes, it did. I brought this 1992 bendy figure of Cheesysaurus Rex, the Kraft Mac and Cheese mascot, in a basketball uniform that says USA Basketball.
It's based on the Olympics.
I guess he's for the Olympics, because mac and cheese, as we all know, is the food of athletes' choice. And
I was posting some pictures online just to kind of get a little bit of buzz going on Facebook and stuff when I was going to do the sale.
Yeah.
And it was literally a photo of random action figures that I was partnering with. And Jordan immediately was like, oh, I want the Cheesysaurus Rex.
I did a spit take at the computer screen. I was at a laptop, typing and scrolling, and all of a sudden I was like, I was like, is that a toy of Cheesysaurus Rex?
It is. I got him at a yard sale for 50 cents one time.
I love it.
So I put him away. I didn't even put him out for sale, and then gave him to Jordan later on.
Yeah, and I'm going to treasure him forever, because this is going on my random stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else in my collection shelf.
The perfect place for him.
Which is where he's going to end up next to, Pimp Skeleton and, Skull Attack Jack.
Okay.
And, all the other figures that don't really make sense to own, but, I had to have. But this is definitely one that's going to... This place goes to home. I grew up... I mean, I always love mac. Who doesn't love mac and cheese? Monsters. Monsters don't like mac and cheese, but every normal person likes mac and cheese. And Cheesyosaurus Rex, of course, as a dinosaur nerd growing up, was like the coolest. Like, it was like, oh my god, this mac and cheese is sold to me by a dinosaur. I'm in. I love it. So I was very much a fan of Cheesyosaurus Rex, and I don't think they use him anymore.
I don't think so.
I feel like they retired him, but like he was in use up until like semi-recently. Like within the last decade, they retired him. If they did.
He was one of those guys like the Kool-Aid Man that you would get a lot of merch for him because you could like mail away for stuff.
Yeah.
So kids at school had Cheesyosaurus Rex t-shirts
Absolutely.
and stuff growing up.
And it's one of those characters where it's like he's timeless.
Yeah.
Like there was largely the same, actually. I was going to say there's a different iteration for every generation. But realistically, Cheesyosaurus Rex has been an eternal force that hasn't really changed at all. I think they eventually made him 3D looking.
Right.
Like
switch the animation style.
Yeah, but other than that, like even the stylization of that looks the same.
Okay.
So it's like everything else changes with the times, but Cheesyosaurus Rex is like just the same. He stays the same. He's like that focal point in time that never actually grows or evolves. And I love it. So this is one of my new personal favorite things to go on my shelf.
I brought with me Masters of the Universe Origins Clawful.
Clawful!
He finally arrived. The back of the package shows off Sunman, who is an exciting new member of the Masters of the Universe brand.
Yeah, he is.
And the Horde Trooper, who I'm super excited to army build.
Yeah.
Because the original Horde Trooper is too expensive to get more than one of.
Of course.
And having been a fan of the She-Ra cartoon show and loving the Horde figures,
yeah,
I need me some army builders.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited for this wave to become a little bit more commonplace. I got this guy through Big Bad Toy Store, waiting for the rest of the figures to come in. But when that Horde Trooper hits stores, if I can find any, I'm going to snag a few more of them.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of army building for the few characters that I get to army build.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a good time with the Horde Trooper, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a tough one to find because everyone's going to snag him.
I brought something that's not... It's kind of a Pegwarmer, only because they seem to be shipping in full cases.
Okay.
But a couple episodes back when I was here, I talked about my desire and need to track down from the Dollar Tree.
Oh, yeah.
From their Final Faction line, Churro, the Chihuahua that drives a mech dog. It's a dog mech suit. So it's a little dog that drives a bigger robot of another dog named Fido.
I actually bought one for you.
That's amazing.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, I found him and I bought one to bring here and grace the set.
I appreciate it.
So that he can always be here. But now I have one. This is going to go in my car and live in the car all the time.
There you go.
And he'll be my random toy whenever I have to go somewhere I need to bring a toy with me.
Your emergency toy.
My emergency toy. He's going to be my backup. That's awesome. I love so much about this, and like I'm gonna pair. I have the what is his name? Kit from Fortnite.
Oh yeah,
that drives a mech suit,
right?
Which fortunately isn't a mech suit of a bigger cat,
right?
Which would have been hilarious. But a dog that drives a bigger dog is just really great conceptually to me. Even better that it's from the dollar store's Final Faction line, which is just fantastic so far. And yeah, man, I'm super hyped that he exists, and I'm glad to have brought one for you, and then you brought one for me, so now I have two.
There you go. So our main topic for today is being a vendor.
Ooh, yeah.
Toy shows, flea markets, or in the case that we experienced together was the estate sale at my house. So for those of you that don't know, I recently packed up my collection and got ready to move, selling my house because I was getting married, and so part of that process was just like eliminating doubles and stuff that I didn't really need anymore, and just stuff I know isn't gonna fit. I know I went from having a house to myself to having a house with a family, so even if I have a large bedroom or a basement, and I don't know what space I'm going to have yet exactly because we don't have this new house.
Yeah,
I know the collection is going to have to shrink some. It's going to have to be a little bit more curated, a little more focused.
Yeah.
So I had kind of been talking to a buddy of mine about it'd be great if there was like a small toy show I could vend at, like a firehouse show or something like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just kind of was like, why don't I just do it here? It was the middle of winter, so it's like, who wants to carry this stuff out? Why don't we just try and get people here?
Yeah.
And so I ended up putting it together, and I asked Jordan to come, and my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon came. My buddy Nick, who was part of the inception, didn't end up coming. His job changed, and he was like working nights, and it was just kind of a mess. But it turned out to be a pretty good event.
Yeah, it was fun.
It would have been nice to have a few more people come. It's a tricky thing to promote, though, because like a lot of Facebook groups don't let you promote events if it's not like an official kind of thing. Like it's not like promoting RetroCon or something like that. It was just like, here's my yard
come
sale.
to my house.
Yeah. But I think the people that came had a good time.
Absolutely.
And I keep running into people that know me from other things. They're like, hey, I saw you in the background of that Cinema Sickness video from the estate sale. What did you buy there? And I'm like, I was selling my crap. It wasn't.
What's funny about those
my house.
guys in particular, I kept running into the Cinema Sickness guys. I never met them before.
All right.
I never even heard of that channel. Now I watch it constantly.
Yeah, no, they're
but
great.
Like I'd never met of or heard of those guys before the sale at your house. And they bought stuff from me. They bought stuff from you. I personally sold them a Laura Dern figure.
Yeah.
Which they were excited about, naturally. And after that day, I ran into them like 2 more times.
That's funny.
Within a month of that, just out and about while thrifting.
Okay.
So it was like, I just keep seeing those guys now.
That's really funny. Yeah, they're really cool guys.
Yeah,
I've met them through RetroCon, I guess.
Oh, cool.
And then I see them at almost every show we go to. So when I was doing the sale, I was like, sent them a message like, hey guys, I'm selling some toys, because they do daily thrifting videos pretty much. So they're always looking for some place to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, this is going to be a unique setup anyway to do a video on. So it turned out great. I think people had fun watching it and getting to see a little bit more of a tour of what we were selling. And those guys are always high energy, so it's always fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a good time for sure.
So that sale, I still debate whether it was a bigger distraction than it was worth, but I did have fun with it.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, it eased my like anxiety of getting rid of stuff. It's very hard when you're a collector to part with things. You build this weird attachment to the stuff, even if it is a double and you don't really care. It's like it's just one of those weird things. We've accumulated this stuff and you got to part with it. And so setting up the sale and kind of having that one day of owning a toy store feeling was a lot of fun, but it definitely did distract me from packing. I spent a lot of time. I basically packed my living room and dining room, all the stuff that was in those rooms that I wanted to keep. And then as I was packing other things and going through other things, I would bring those things out and put them in the living room, the dining room. And then you were in my kitchen, actually. Yeah. So we had... It
was me and the Girl Scouts.
Yes, my nieces were there selling Girl Scout cookies. They actually, I think they did the best of the whole sale.
They easily made more money than anybody that day.
Because the vendors all bought from them. Absolutely. All the people that came to buy toys bought Girl Scout cookies.
4 boxes of cookies.
It was a good day for them. But it was a fun setup. Rose and Tony brought a few things.
Yeah.
And
they're always great to see. I love RetroCon, so like it's nice to see them outside of them, because usually for RetroCon
they're too busy to talk,
running around and nonstop, and they are a force to be reckoned with on those days, which is good for them. I'm so like happy that their con does well.
Yeah.
But like it was nice to have some downtime, and we're not just like running around like crazy.
Right. A little bit
to be able to actually
socialize. And
yeah.
We all had pizza together at lunchtime and stuff. It was good.
See them. Yeah.
So some of the big things that I sold, which I didn't want to deal with shipping or hauling to an auction house or anything like that, was a bunch of like playset, almost shells. A lot of the play sets in my collection over the years, I bought more than one of at a flea market or in a lot. Like when I first got back into collecting vintage Masters of the Universe, anytime you buy a lot, there's a Grayskull in it.
Yeah,
like everyone has Grayskull. Yeah, the shell. So I had 2 Grayskulls. One's fairly complete. One is, it has like the training tool and a weapons rack and like the gun or something like that.
Yeah.
So I sold a Grayskull. I sold a Ewok village that was mostly complete. I sold 2 Ghostbuster firehouses. I kept buying firehouses from the Kenner line to upgrade my doors, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I ended up buying a 4th one because I got one that didn't have the paint app. You know how they have the purple bricks on the front? There's a variant at the end that doesn't have the bricks. And a buddy of mine found a load of 80s and 90s toys in the trash one day. Like there's actually an episode on this channel from the old format. He was driving to Doylestown and just like on the side of the road saw the firehouse and he like went and finished his errand because he was actually for work.
Yeah.
Like he was dropping a car off, and he on his way back stopped in front of these people's houses and just thought he was getting the firehouse. Basically, opened the trunk, threw that in, looked in the trash can, and realized it was just like Beast Wars Transformers. There was like a Voltron thing, all kinds of ridiculous stuff. So we did a video just sorting through it.
Oh, man.
But I bought the firehouse off of him because it had a paint variant.
I'm so jealous of having found a pile of like Beast Wars.
It was insane.
It's my weak spot for me. I love Beast Wars.
It was insane. There was a bunch of like BattleTech stuff and just weird stuff. But those are the stories that you see on Facebook groups and you're like, it's all crap. They're making this up, you know?
Yeah.
Strange things happen sometimes.
I mean, no, you find stuff. I remember one time I found I was stopped at the Circle Thrift in like Fishtown.
Okay.
And I found a bag and it was $8 for the bag and it was like just a giant bag of G1 Transformers.
Weird.
And I had a complete I forget his name. He's the Radio Shack Shockwave.
Oh yeah.
I had it complete.
Wow.
Perfect condition, mint.
That's
he was
crazy.
Beautiful. Whatever. I paid $8 for the bag. I had him. I had I think Topspin. What's the one? It's like there's two of them and they're almost the same.
Yeah,
but like one
Topspin and Twin Twist.
That's it. I had both of them.
Okay.
I had
they're pretty common.
Yeah. No, I had most of a Starscream. I was
Okay.
missing like one fist, I think.
Okay.
But like it was like a lot of almost complete Transformers in pretty decent shape. I'm just like, what happened here? Like,
Yeah.
did somebody die? Like, I don't understand.
How did this get here? Somebody left it at their girlfriend's house?
Yeah, that's exactly. You can tell. Like, I remember one day I went to I thrift a lot for things.
Okay.
So like I went to Second Avenue, which is like way up by Philadelphia Mills, formerly Franklin Mills, and there was one day I walked in there and like you could see there was like a franticness going on at the toy section. Someone donated a whole collection of Pops.
Wow.
And they were all $12, and they had like convention exclusives and like a bunch. I personally got away with like I think I bought like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because I got what I could before other people got them.
Yeah.
But like I ended up with probably $200 worth of stuff for like under $50.
I gotcha.
And it was just like insane watching. It was like blood in the water watching people flip out over someone donated Pops. And I'm like, somebody either died or broke up with someone.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that you just do... Because, like, even if you were just unloading them, you would probably sell them.
Yeah.
So, like, so somebody had to not know what these are and got rid of them just to get them out of the house, or just was being vindictive. Like, there's no way that just happens.
Yeah, no. That doesn't... that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, and then shortly after the estate sale, maybe 2 weeks later, I was actually a vendor for the very first time at a show somewhere. I did flea marketing as a kid a little bit.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't want to give up a whole day. Like, it's a pretty big commitment.
It is.
To do yard sales and things like that. But my friend Ed Rentz, who goes by Raiders of the Lost Toys online.
Yeah.
He has like booths in a couple of different antique stores.
Sure.
And so the Antique on the Evergreen, which is in New Jersey, they were hosting like a toy show. They had like a back area, a pretty big space.
Yeah.
And so they were selling tables. They were pretty cheap. And it was around the same time I was like looking for one of these small toy shows, but I'd already sort of committed to the idea I was doing my own.
Yeah.
So basically everything from the sale at my house that didn't sell there, I hauled to there and, marked down a bunch of stuff and tried to get rid of, even more. But that was a lot of fun. I actually was next to Mike Bro, who's been on the show before.
I love Mike Bro. Yeah.
And actually Rose and Tony were on the other side of me at that show. So it was, the same people that
a little
family reunion. It was great. Chris Lamont and a bunch of other vendors that I run into at shows all the time were there.
Absolutely.
But it was a good time. The harder thing with that show was now I was working with a table limit, right? So it's easy to take way more stuff than you can put out.
Absolutely.
Like when it was in my house, it was just like,
put it wherever.
Let me
Hang
fill
on
this
the wall.
bookcase. Hang it on the wall, pile stuff up, whatever. So trying to figure out about how much stuff you can fit, plus a little extra, because you always want to be able to fill in the space after something goes.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. But both experiences were really good.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I learned, I think, from the estate sale, what I really should have done was the day before, I should have taken pictures of some of the better stuff I was selling and put them on Marketplace. Because I did it the other way around. Things that didn't sell, like the Defiant, I put on Marketplace. And then I had all these people coming to my house the next day or 2 days later, and you guys weren't there anymore. And I had already started putting stuff away.
Yeah.
And it was like, if these people had just been here 2 days ago or 3 days ago, this would have been even better. And that would have been a great way to kind of get the word out to people that collect but aren't in the like toy groups necessarily. A little bit more casual collectors.
Yeah.
But I had fun with all those people that came out. One of the guys actually I've run into a bunch of times at local shows. Never knew his name, but totally recognized his face.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I bought tickets from you at RetroCon, and I was like, I'm always working at the registration stand. I'm like, I totally know you from that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
So I sold at your thing. I'm one of those people where I am not necessarily a vendor, but I do tend to stockpile things for when the day comes.
Yeah.
So like every once in a while, people in my family and my friends like know that like I sell things sometimes. And even if they know that I'm not like, I don't actively do flea markets or toy shows or like conventions or anything like that, but like maybe twice a year I'll book a booth at like Punk Rock Flea Market or some other small toy show or something like that, or just a small flea market. I'll go do Roosevelt Mall Flea Market, for example. It's a big outdoor setup. It's really hot, so you gotta like really pick your days well, or bring a tent. But like, I don't sell often, but when I do, I sell hard. So like, I'll bring stuff, and I usually make way more money than I expect to make in a day. So I'll make like 2 or 3 weeks worth of paycheck in like a day of selling toys and stuff that are just things I cherry pick from around the house, or things that I've just decided I'm kind of over this, or like I don't really watch this show anymore, I'm not into it, so let me just unload all of my paraphernalia for it. Or perfect example, my cousin grew up when she was younger, was a huge Little Mermaid fan. So as she grew up, that was like the hot thing. So there was a ton of merchandise. So she ended up with all this brand new in box, untouched Little Mermaid merchandise, and like things like clock radio and a landline phone that looks like a seashell. It's a shell phone. And like a music box, and like all these different dolls and figures and collectibles, and like notebooks and folders, and like, look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Yeah. Her collection was very complete. And eventually it all ended up in my grandparents' attic. And unfortunately, I got tasked, like I want to say 2 years ago now, with cleaning out that estate. Where my grandparents had both passed.
Right.
So we found the stuff. I was like, hey, I just found all your Little Mermaid stuff. And she's like, you sell stuff, right? Do you just want to take it? And I'm like, sure, I'll take that. And I cannot tell you right now, I've sold maybe half of it. Because when I find the people who want to buy it, they buy a lot of it.
You had a few of those items at my house. I brought a
few of them to your house. I brought some of the high-ticket items, hoping maybe some people would be like,
the right audience.
The right audience. I remember if I take them to the Punk Rock Flea Market, I usually sell it really fast. Like, for some reason, the people there are really into the Little Mermaid.
Might just be the right age group.
Might just be, it's like exactly the right spot. But, like, they're so much stuff like that, it goes. And like, if you find the right market for it, people just will end up giving me things where they're like, hey, you like movies and stuff, right? I'm just getting rid of all my physical media. Do you want to take all these DVDs? And I'm like, okay. I'm not going to fight you on that.
Right.
I'm like, I don't need most of these. They're like, well, sell them. It's fine. I'm like, okay. So then I'll end up with like 3 giant tubs of DVDs I'm trying to sell, which, I mean, for $1 a piece, sure, it adds up. And usually the DVDs are what ends up selling, because I always end up with horror movies, which is like a really high ticket item at events that I go to. So it's like between random toys that I've just come across or decided I'm no longer into, and things like that from around the house that I end up with, or promo items from things. People buy that stuff, and I end up doing really well at the very few events that I do. But like, I just mostly collect the stuff because I like collecting it. And eventually it just becomes too much for my house, and I need to share some of that wealth. So I generally have taken, in the past, the easy route. And I take stuff to an auction house. And I obviously, there's higher fees with that. Like, you're getting the profit when you sell it yourself, but you're doing all the work. So I have tended to do the other route, and I don't really know why. Other than that, it's just kind of easy. So, maybe once a year, I will do kind of what you were saying. I'll unload some stuff to an auction. And I ended up doing that with some of the higher end things. Like when I did the sale at my house, I had everything I wanted to get rid of basically there. And then the stuff that was a little bit nicer, like I had a bunch of boxed Masters Universe Classics figures. Those stuff I sent to the auction. The stuff like loose action figures and a few leftover pops. I had those the unhelmeted Power Ranger pops. They went to the toy show with me then, and somebody bought all of them. It's the full set, I almost bought those, but I have so many. I have like 1,200 pops in my house. And I already have the regular helmeted Power Rangers, and I was just like, I don't need them.
Well, that's why I parted with them. my fiance at the time and I were packing stuff at my house, and
Yeah.
she was taking care of putting the pops back in their boxes because I displayed them out of the boxes.
Sure.
And I said to her, like, you know, do I need both sets? And she goes, well, did you have them on display? And I was like, no, these guys were in the basement in a tote. And she's like, then you probably don't. And I was like, you're right. So put them up for sale.
It's tricky with certain brands, like things like Power Rangers, because like you want to buy all of them, or like with the pops with them. I have like the regular versions, and then they released the clear glitter holographic versions or whatever, and then they released the unhelmeted version. It's like, oh man, I want to buy those other two sets, but like, do I need?
And I was really excited about the unhelmeted ones when they came out.
Yeah,
but long term, like once the excitement of the buy is over, you know, 5 years later, I'm like,
yeah, like for me, whatever. It was like, I was really hyped they made Goldar, finally, because he was one that was like high on my list. Like, I'm still mad they haven't made Bulk and Skull, but that's like, I think the short list of stuff that I really want at this point from that line. Like, if they did Bulk and Skull to round it out, I'd be happy.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think that would be a good, like, end piece. Just do it as a 2-pack, do it as a convention exclusive if you have to, just get them out there, because those are like the last, I think, key figures missing, unless they want to start piling out monsters,
right? Or
doing other seasons, which is like a whole
rabbit hole
box of things you don't need to do. I don't see the rest of them selling as well.
Yeah, I don't see other seasons. You'd have to really cherry pick which season you're going to do.
Like unless you're doing like whatever the current one is at the time, like trying to go back and fill in, it's like impossible.
Yeah, like, even the current season, I think you'd run into issues because it's just not as wide. It's not as mainstream.
No, it's not. It's not, and I think it's moving to Netflix now, so it's like it's like a whole thing where it's
definitely there's going to be a lot of new things going on with Power Rangers, I think, in the near future.
I do too, but it's one of those brands where I feel like there's more pops to be made, but you have to really pick and choose what you're going to do with it. But it's the thing with pops, is like they can do literally anything. And those things always go at flea markets and at events and things like that, because everyone collects them. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't collect them, there's probably at least a couple that you'd consider buying. So like, I know that out there of you guys watching, I know there's at least a few of you who are going to be like, I'm never going to buy one of those. I guarantee you there's at least one that you would probably buy if you haven't already.
If there's just the right character.
There's going to be that one character that you're like, I got to get that. Because you do. Everyone's got one. Like, I know my dad he's always supported me in the things that I do. And he understands. Like, I grew up collecting toys and stuff, and people were always, why do you let him get all these toys and stuff? And his stance has always been, well, there's way worse things he could be into and trying to spend money on.
Right.
Which is true. And, you know, I appreciate that he always was there for me and supported me in that. And, like, he would totally buy me stuff if I couldn't afford it myself as a kid. So, like, I always appreciated that. And, like, one of the few things, my dad really loves the Grateful Dead.
Okay.
And they made a Jerry Garcia pop, so I was able to give it to him for his birthday one year. And it was, like, a little thing that was, like...
Connects the two of you.
Find a way to connect the two of us. Or, like, my stepmom, who, you know, we've had a rocky relationship over the years. We're great now, which is fantastic. But she has... I helped her daughter find her a Wicked Witch of the West pop, who's actually really hard to get now and very expensive. But, like, we ended up getting her the Wicked Witch of the West because she loves the Wizard of Oz and she likes the Wicked Witch. I can't even talk. Wicked Witch.
The Wicked Witch.
She likes the character. So we got her the pop because that's something that's like, even if she doesn't like toys and collectibles and things, she can appreciate that there's this character that she loves.
Right.
And she wants it. So she loves having that one. And my dad loves having the one that he has. And, like, that's all that they really would ever need.
And that's, like, there's a big slice of that Funko Pop market that is just the one-off. The person on their desk at their office. Absolutely. The only toy, the only collectible thing they really own. But, you know, it's their favorite diehard character.
Everybody's got at least one pop that they want to have if they don't already have it. So it's... I mean, those things, every time I bring those to the events that I'm selling at, they almost always... I sell through at least half what I bring almost every time.
No, I can see that for sure. So what are some things that you would say are tips for somebody that's going to vend for the first time? Things you should do, shouldn't do, or how do you, like, decide what you're going to bring?
So price stuff ahead of time, even if you don't put prices on things. Have a mental list of what, like, mentally know what things are worth. Like, you want to know going in what every item you're trying to get rid of is worth.
Don't be looking it up on your phone.
Don't look it up
during the show.
But also, even if you don't put a price sticker on it, you ask someone occasionally what they think what is it worth to them.
Yeah.
Or, like, I know my big thing is I always up price. And then, like, I know what I want for. So say if I were to sell something and I want to get at least $20 on this. I'm going to mark it $30 because I know they're going to try and haggle.
Okay.
Because every time you go to a flea market or a show where you're vending, people never want to pay whatever the ticket price is.
Okay.
So I literally almost always up price my stuff. And it looks more expensive, but then you're like, don't worry about it. Tell you what, it's this much if you want it.
I know.
And that way I'm happy. They're happy because they don't think they're getting the price that it's marked.
Yeah.
And I have a soft spot for kids. I always, every time, give a discount if it's for a kid. If you're selling toys, and there's a kid who wants something that's cool, I don't care how rare or expensive it is. If it is for a child, let them have it for like cheap. I don't even care. I remember I sold a kid I think it was Mafex or figure. I had the alien from Alien.
Okay.
Like I had the big chap, and it was an import figure it was a Bandai import. It was really nice. It was normally an expensive figure, and I let a kid have it for like $15 because it was what he had. And that kid's the smile on his face was worth anything I would have gotten on that figure, more than $15.
Right.
And like to me, that feels good because I know that yes, I sold out. I missed out on some money on that figure, but it's going somewhere, to me at least, that it's going to be in a good home where that kid loves that thing already. And to me, that's more important than making the extra few bucks. No, I'd rather my toys go somewhere. Like I said, I don't sell for the sake of selling most of the time. I usually sell because I need to make space.
Yeah.
So I'm much more about getting things to a home where they're going to be cherished, So if you're trying to make money, I'm giving terrible advice.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and you just have too much stuff, which I absolutely always have too much stuff, then try and look at things that way.
No, that's a good idea. I was trying to use Post-it notes for price tags because I didn't want to mark things up, but a lot of times the Post-it notes fall off of stuff, which is very frustrating.
Post-its are also tricky because people can really easily switch Post-it notes.
Yes.
Unless you write the name of the thing on it, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do that stuff, so I know they do it.
Yeah, no, I've seen people do shady stuff.
I used to use price stickers, and then people were weird because there was an actual sticker on it. Usually I'll just try to bulk price things.
Okay.
Or if someone walks up and expresses interest, they'd be like, well, most of them are this much, but there's a few that are a little more, for the pops or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, they're all $8 except for this small stack over here, and they're individually priced. So let me know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easier to sort of spread things out a little more that way, and it gives people. The other thing is, if you have a limited amount of space, I cannot tell you how much it helps to have either click together builder shelves, or the easiest thing I've ever used for these is milk crates.
Yeah.
If you can get milk crates and some zip ties, you have immediate instant shelving that turns into storage when you have to take it all home. So I remember at one point I just had all these milk crates zip tied together on a table stacked 4 high, and it was full of stuff. And at the end I just sort of leaned it over, cut the zip ties off, and loaded them into the car without having to take anything apart.
That's not a bad idea.
It was really, really easy, and it was just a really clean-cut display. Yeah. I had a lot of books and movies and stuff up. I was able to pile more stuff into there when I was leaving, but it was still just so much easier to pack it all up. So if you're trying to work on a limited amount of space and budget, definitely milk crates and zip ties are a good way to go.
Make sure you know if you're getting a table or a chair where you're going, because if you have to stand all day or you have to put your stuff on the ground, that's going to suck.
Yeah. I personally always bring a cooler with me, a big hard cooler, because 1, then I have snacks or drinks, and 2, then I guarantee myself a seat. Because that way that's something that's sturdy enough to support the weight of a human body, and you can sit on it if you need to. If you get a chair, fantastic. If not, you have the cooler, and it's it's discreet. And it's not really in the way because it's being used for things. And if you need to, even if you don't put food or drink in there, you can use it for storage of other stuff. Say you bring something and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to bring that. You can throw it in there. It's out of sight, out of mind. No one's trying to buy it from you. You won't accidentally sell it. You could use it to keep your money in there. People don't know what's in your cooler. They're not, especially if you're sitting on it. It's a good place to keep your change or your excess bills.
Yeah.
Or bags.
That's actually a good thought too. Is make sure you bring change.
Always
if you are
bring
selling,
change.
You got to have change.
Every time I go to a flea market, I always have at least $30 in ones, at least $30 in fives, a couple of tens.
Yeah.
Because people always come in with 20s.
Everybody shows up with a 20.
Everybody shows up with a 20. And also, as a rule, I generally try not to price anything with change.
Yeah. I try and
I'll
even
accept
amounts.
change if someone's like, I'll give you 50 cents for this thing you wanted $1 for. Sure. Okay. Half the time at that point, I'll just be like, just take it.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth my time to deal with quarters.
Yeah.
But I just don't price anything under $1. I also, my personal favorite thing that I do every time I do one of these, I have this old piece of luggage. It's a suitcase that is hard. It's a hard shell suitcase, and you just flips open.
Yeah.
And I just filled it with a bunch of little stuff that is not worth anything. It's not like it's worthless, but like
Yeah.
just a bunch of little stuff that's knickknacks and things that it's like, give me $1 for it.
Right.
So I just put everything in the suitcase, and I just put a sign on the suitcase that says everything in here is $1. That thing is empty every time. It gets emptied out. It's like all extra loot crate stuff and keychains and magnets and just whatever random knickknacks and what have yous that are just piled around the house that like, I just need this gone. And people love that, or like kids especially love that, because parents will be like, just pick something out of the suitcase. It's fine. And it almost always sells through really fast. I
had a bunch of dollar stuff at the estate sale, and then I took a bunch of that to the toy show, and I actually took a piece of electrical tape and just marked off like a third of my table, and I just wrote like $1 at the bottom of it, and just dumped a bunch of that out. Yeah. Every once in a while, if somebody was really into what was there, I would be like, "Hey, look under the table." I would just slide out the refill box. Yeah. And I was making deals on that stuff. If somebody had 6 of them, I'm like, it's $5. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try and make like change over it. And kids, if they were really interested, I'm going to just take it, you know?
Yeah, no, every time, that's like I said before, every time my kid would come and look at something I'm selling, I'd almost always be like, it's half whatever I'm asking on it. Yeah. Like every time, just because it's, a kid's going to appreciate it. Or like, usually, especially like I remember I'll have something that's like, a parent will be like, no, that's too much, or it's too big, or it's too expensive. But like, how much do you think it's worth to the kid? Because I guarantee you I'll match whatever price you want to pay on it. Yeah. Because it's like, I just would rather, especially, I just rather would see a kid enjoy it.
Have somebody have fun with it, yeah.
Have somebody have fun with it. Have somebody, like, take it home and cherish it and, like, appreciate it. I think I watched Toy Story too much growing up. So for me, it's just like, I just want these toys to be taken care of and, you know, someone appreciates them. Even if it's just Pops. Like, I've got bins and bins of toys at home that I could probably just unload if I really needed to. But, like, I don't want to. Because I love them. Right.
All right. Any other thoughts or tips you can think of off the top of your head?
Bring bags. Like I said, always bring change. Bring something to sit on. Dress comfortably. Make sure you have something to keep your change in, like a coin, like some sort of bag or a money box or something. Make sure that money box is accessible to you, but to no one else, because that's also like a big thing. People will just disappear with your money box. It is rough. I've seen it happen at shows where like vendors will lose the whole money box. I remember, I forget who it was. One of the Comic-Cons I was at recently, somebody told me about one of the vendors. Somebody stole their money box.
That's crazy.
And they were out like at least $4 or $5 grand in cash from the weekend.
Right.
And that's like, at that point, the whole weekend's
no way to recover that.
Yeah, it's just gone. And it's devastating to hear that happen. And people are awful. Yeah. So it's like, it's tricky. But like, you know, always look for shows that are going to be popular and like out there. I mean, obviously look for shows that are going to be getting people there. It's harder for like things like your estate sale. There wasn't a lot of word of mouth about it.
Right.
It was like sort of.
It doesn't have a spur of the moment. It doesn't have the build that big shows do.
The build that the big shows do, because it was a one-off. But like if you did like RetroCon or something like that, I'm sure you would have sold through almost everything you were trying to get rid of in a go. Like. I know I keep debating if I want to do a show like that where I just set up a table at one of the shows. But my problem is that every time I go to one of these, and this is very important for sellers, if you're going to a toy show to sell things, do not shop with the money you're making, because it's really tempting to just go and then by the time you're leaving, you've refilled your car with all the stuff that you got rid of equal amount of stuff that you're bringing home. Yeah, it's really hard to do. I always try to limit myself to like I'm not allowed to buy more than 2 things if I'm doing an event. And I broke that rule at your place. Yeah. I probably broke even selling at your place. Yeah. I made okay money, and then I spent about the same as I made. Probably a little I probably made more than I spent, but like not by much.
I think the one thing and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but like if it wasn't the high-end stuff, like the carded Motu Classic stuff, I really priced stuff to move because I did not want, like, it was all stuff I wanted to have gone. Oh, yeah. So for the people that were there, it was very easy to impulse buy, and that was why it was great then when people would come for the marketplace stuff, they were like, oh, you got this, you got that? Okay, you know.
Yeah, it's just it's really easy to get out on.
And so that's another thing to think about is do you want to make every penny you can, or do you want to unload the stuff? And people have different reasons, right?
Yeah,
there
are
people
that sells for their
people pay their bills by selling toys.
Absolutely,
they need to get every dollar out of it.
Absolutely.
If you're just trying to make space in your collection, market $2 under what you think it's really worth, and it's going to go a lot faster.
Yeah,
and so like when I took stuff to the second show, I already thought I had stuff priced well, but when I went to the toy show, then some of the clunkier things that I didn't want to deal with, like if it's all going to fit in one box at the end, I don't care. But like, I had a Kenner B-Wing that was pretty sun-baked. It was actually one I'd had for years. I bought it at a flea market.
Yeah.
And it wasn't complete, but I had that marked, I think, $30 at my house. And I was kind of surprised nobody jumped on it. I marked it down 20 and it was gone right away.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you want to move the stuff, just keep working at the prices. Or even halfway through the show, you can mark some stuff down.
Absolutely.
Get out a red pen, start marking things down. It gets people excited sometimes, especially in a show where people are kind of in a contained space.
Yeah.
If you're doing a small show, people will do 2 or 3 loops, and then
Yeah.
they realize, oh, hey, this guy's marking stuff down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can,
Well, I'm like the
sales.
carnival marker, so I'll be like, hey, I'm getting you discounts. What can I do for you?
What can I do?
Like, ignore all my price tags. Whatever you're interested in, you talk to me. We'll work something out. I want you to take it home. I don't want to take it home.
There you go.
Because I don't want this stuff to go home with me. I need to empty this stuff out of my house.
Right.
So, like, for me, it's very much, you got to be the salesman. Oh, big rule. Be a salesperson. When you're selling at these events, put your phone in your pocket, look up, smile. Actually greet people when they walk to your space, because otherwise you're ignoring them, they're ignoring you. You're not selling anything. Nobody's buying stuff from someone who's playing on their phone. That's like a huge thing that I see people at these shows, and they look depressed and like downtrodden that they're even there at that point because nobody's buying their stuff. But I'm like, yeah, it's because you're sitting there frowning on your phone the whole day. Like, what do you want?
That's actually a really good tip.
That's it's something that like people don't really think about or consider, because some people just aren't socially, I guess, outgoing.
Yeah.
In that sense, like not everyone has that like jump to it attitude, and they're like, oh hey, how's it going? You know, it's you gotta. I worked in retail sales long enough to know that I hate people and that I don't want to do that ever.
Yeah.
So like when I have to go out and sell stuff, you really sometimes gotta like put on a show.
It makes sense to be engaging.
Yeah, you have to be.
Feel free to have a conversation with somebody. The longer they're at your table, the more likely they are to see something. So if you're ignoring them and they just walk by, they might have seen something. But if you start talking to them and you ask them, what are you interested in or anything like that, you may be able to direct them towards things that are on your table that they missed.
That or one of my other favorite things to do, and this is another easy way to get engaging with people, is have something that makes no sense to be at a booth.
Yeah.
And overprice the heck out of it. I have a dinner plate sized pin, like a pin with a safety pin on the back. Like you could wear it.
Like a badge.
It's like a big button, essentially, of NSYNC. And I put a $500 price sticker on that like 5 or 6 shows ago, and I always like pin it to my display tower, and I always have people asking me about it. Like I think my favorite, someone was like, "Will you take $250?" But like they're like, "What's with the pin?" I'm like, "What? It's priced to move, $500. What do you?" And it's it's something it's a discussion piece.
Yeah.
So it's less about trying to sell that, because like nobody actually wants to buy the $500 NSYNC giant button, but people will absolutely talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's all about bringing the statement piece to make a discussion with people and bring them into your booth. They're talking to you. They're looking around at more stuff. Maybe they'll see some other weird thing that they didn't know they needed in their life that you brought to the show. Because that's what I do. I always have like the most random stuff. I had like I forget where I ended up with it, but I had like a really neat, it was like a Barbie. I don't know if it was from like JCPenney or like a Sears catalog or something, but it was like a jewelry box. It was like a jewelry box, but not like a you put jewelry stored in it, but like from a store display case with like the velvet felt or whatever, and you open it and it's like earrings and like a Barbie bracelet, but it's all like nice. I don't know if it was real gold or not, but it was like a really nice looking little jewelry set, and I put it out for like, I don't know, $25, and like that's a discussion piece.
Yeah,
like somebody will look at that. I mean, I think somebody did buy that because Barbie stuff is highly collectible if it's in good shape. Especially now, it's going to be even more highly collectible because Margot Robbie.
Yeah, she's going to make this a hit.
She's gonna bump Barbie sales like so much. I'm excited for that. Like, I don't know why I'm excited for a Barbie movie. I didn't think I would be.
Yeah, I would go see that, I think.
I would see Barbie as a movie. Just the fact that they're making a movie out of a toy line.
Who are they going to get to cover the Barbie Girl song for it? Because it's got to be in there.
They said they're not doing it.
They're not going to do it?
They said they're not putting the Aqua song in the movie. Mm-hmm. There's been a statement about it, and I think in the last 2 days I've read at least 3 different articles.
It'll be in the sequel then.
Yeah, or at least in the trailer. It's just, it drives me nuts that, like, why would you not do that?
It seems like even at least for the credits or something.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of, one, it's very dated.
Yes.
And 2, it's a lot. Like, I don't know how much you've listened to that song, but it is a very graphic song.
Yeah.
So, like, if they're trying to keep it family-friendly, I can see why they wouldn't use it.
I just feel like it just goes over people's heads. They
Absolutely,
just listen to it for the silliness of it.
Exactly. but like, who knows?
Who knows? All right, guys.
Good night, folks.
Thanks for hanging on the peg with us. Make sure you check out Geek Anything.
Absolutely, check out Geek Anything. We're the news website where we talk about anything and everything geeky.
I have so many things I want to talk about. I'm like gonna get off track here.
This is the case of a game that was far more popular in Japan than it was in the United States.
They never went to Mordor. What are you talking about?
This is kind of weird.
But there's real detail. There's like wiring underneath.
You know, they're one and done. That's
Yeah,
it. Sold out. So they're super hard to come by.
You heard him, guys. Bring it back. Here we go again. Round two.